It's Christmas!
Hello and welcome on into our Christmas special here at Movie Burner Entertainment. We all hope you're having a lovely time. Of course, we've dedicated some time this Christmas, we'll get on to that in a minute, John, to put out a little show that we're going to be doing over the next half hour or so. Could be longer, depends on our conversation, I suppose. John, you did mention Santa hats, Christmas jumpers. We did that a couple of years ago, and my head was itchy for days with that Christmas Santa hat on, so I'm not doing that again.
And the jumper won't fit.
I was going to say, I remember it was tight
back then, and that was a large. I'm bigger now than I was then.
Yeah,
it's not good.
Well, John, you're going to get bigger. It's coming up for Christmas,
yes,
so you're going to be eating more, drinking more, hopefully. And today we are going to be doing something a little different. It might say Amen in the corner there, but it's actually EN, it should say. It will eventually.
Music news.
Music, yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's music news. It always was meant to be that way. We're talking about our top 10 Christmas hits of all time. John's got a list and I've got a list, and we're going to work from number 10
in certain parts.
Yeah, we're going to work from number 10 back the way to number 1. Our favourite will obviously be number 1. So I'm going to kick it off, John, with Andy Williams.
Some honourable mentions in there as well.
Yeah, you know something I was going to, I suppose they will come up at some point in the conversation, John, ones that will just come into my head as well, because when I was doing this list, there was ones that I had to take off, and I was like, but I like that song as well.
Should we do them just now?
I do like a lot of Christmas. I would leave it to the end, because there'll be some. Right, there might be some that might pop into my head as the conversation rolls merrily forward, John. But I was so surprised when we talked about this the other day, and I said, why don't we just do Christmas songs? And I didn't think I liked a lot of Christmas songs, and it turns out I do like a lot of Christmas songs. There's something very unique about Christmas songs, whether it be traditional ones, or pop ones, or ones that are just totally out there.
Ones that are covered by a full orchestra.
Yeah.
From Maastricht.
Yeah, and I think, John, in covers as well, there's a lot of cover versions out there as well that sometimes have bettered the original. But we'll get into that anyway, John. And I know you will.
My first one.
Yeah. But you want to give your first... You want to give your first one then, number 10?
Yes, the first one for me, Stephen, coming in at number 10. And my best Radio 1 DJ presenter voice. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Not by Bing Crosby. I believe it was the original. But the Bubbly man himself, Mr. Bubble.
Yeah, Bubbles.
Michael Bublé. Bing Crosby, Stephen, of course, 1951, he released this. Way back. My parents weren't even but a twinkle in my grandmother and grandfather's eyes.
Perry Como. Yeah.
Perry Como, yes. Also, it came out. It was a massive hit. It's an iconic Christmas song. It's just something about it, gets you into the spirit. But the Bublé man, as I'm going to call him, Michael Bublé, not a huge fan of Michael outside of Christmas. He is he's been possessed by the spirit of Bing Crosby, by Nat King Cole, by all of these crooners from a bygone era. He is this generation's sort of Bing Crosby, and that he sings with a full big band, and he just seems to get it. They grew up with these guys. He's older than me, but I think he's the same gen as me.
Yeah.
And just, it's, for me, Stephen, a great cover.
It's a great song.
It's a brilliant song. It really does get you into the mood. It's just the perfect blend of sort of crooner vocals.
Yeah. The
big band, it rises to a crescendo. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
I don't actually know what version it is that I know more, if it's either Crosby or if it's Como. I'm not really sure, John. But it's one of those ones that you hear every year anyway, regardless, whether it be in a Christmas advert or on the radio or whatever, or maybe the music video itself. I know that they're doing a lot of these lyric videos now that are coming out for obviously older songs that didn't have music videos at the time. That's certainly one of them. For me, John, it is a great song. You're right, Michael Bublé, he's not my cup of tea in terms of type of singer. Yeah. But he carries it well. He does carry it.
He's got that vocal, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's got the range to carry it off.
There's a live performance. It's a sort of Christmas show from about 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
And the band just swirls round. It's just great. It's cosy. It's like a big sort of a log house. And just as it gets to the end, but the happiest thing to see, I think, I don't know the exact lyrics, is a mistletoe that will be above your front door. Sure, it's Christmas, once more.
Yeah.
And just the vocals, the big band, it's a special song. I was listening to it on the radio the other day, and I'm like, that's it, it's fucking Christmas now.
Yeah.
Thanks to
It's
Bublé.
Christmas.
So he's number 10 for me.
Number 10 for me, John. We're staying in that sort of same genre. It's Andy Williams from 1963.
Yeah.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. Now, I'm pretty sure this has been covered to hell by not just Andy Williams, but that's the most recognisable one for me. And I think he might have performed it on his actual show, his television show, at some point in the early 60s, John. Andy
9
Williams.
covers.
That's crazy, isn't it? Kylie Minogue's covered it. Harry Connick Jr., which I would imagine, because he is a crooner from the 1990s. I think it was an Independence Day, actually. If I'm not mistaken. Gareth Brooks makes sense. Johnny Mathis, another great singer, who he sang what was it called? When a Child is Born, another good Christmas song. Honourable mention.
But Andy's the
Andy
man,
is
isn't he?
He's the pinnacle of this song, John. And
Brilliant
Andy
voice.
Williams, well, talking about his voice, if you've ever heard him, and if you've watched the Andy Williams show, he sings the way he talks, but most crooners, I suppose, do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't really exert their voices in a way that's going to be
But they've got
operatic or anything like
presence,
that.
haven't they,
Yeah.
in that vocal? There's
It's-
something bassy and
They
commanding.
hold the tune to the effect of the genre, John. But it's a great song. I like it, and it's another one that's commercialised quite a bit this time of the year in adverts and obviously on the radio. I like it.
And of course, I had an argument famously over this song because I sung it's the happiest season of all,
Yeah.
and someone tried to correct me. Says no, it's the most wonderful time of the year. I'm like, do you even know this fucking song?
Check the lyrics, mate.
It's the happiest season of all.
Yeah.
It's in there. Stephen, this would have been in my top 10, but I deliberately removed it because we don't want to have the same songs popping up in each other's
That's
lists.
fine. That's okay. Yeah.
It was right in there. I had
Yeah.
it decently down my top 10 list, but I just want to put a couple of different ones in so we're getting as many songs in as possible,
Yeah.
because there is, as you says, a surprising array of very, very good Christmas songs. But something about the crooners, I mean, I've got another one right down in my list. Something about the crooners in this time of the year, it just seems to work.
Yeah, John, I was going
wondrously.
to leave it to the end of the sort of conversation, but I noticed when I was putting this list together that most of these songs are old, and there's something missing in today's sort of songs and writing that don't seem to capture that. John, I can actually say, and anyone who wants to challenge me, that's fine, I don't care. I would say the last great Christmas song, and I'm not saying I like the song, but I appreciate it, was probably All I Want for Christmas Is You, Mariah Carey, from 1995.
It was the 90s,
think,
I remember
94
it
or 95. That was probably the last big Christmas song. Now there has been ones afterwards, John, that I know you've got one or two in your list, maybe just the one, but I'm talking about worldwide. Everybody knows it, and it's
Steve,
played every year. The first few notes, you know the song right away.
There's one in my list I'm actually going to change out, and it's controversial, but I will change it out for that song you've just mentioned, because that has to be in the top 10 of my list anyway.
No, that's fair enough.
Because it's just synonymous with my childhood, but we'll get into
but
that.
there is something missing now. You know, that's almost 30 years since we've had a Christmas classic like that. And it just seems that most artists now just want to cover the old ones instead of coming up with a new one. And
Or
when
in
they
the
do
case
come
of
up,
Elton John and Ed Sheeran
they're
collaborating on a shite one.
Yeah, they're just not good. That's it. They're just, I don't know what it is.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Fuck off, Elton.
Bill
Come
Nye
on.
did one, didn't he? For
Did he?
that film Love Actually. I'm pretty sure he did a Christmas
Listen,
song.
Elton's another one. He's a honourable mention in this
Yeah.
list, but he did an outstanding Christmas song,
Mm.
to be fair to him. Stephen, my number 9,
Yeah.
Wonderful Christmas Time by Paul McCharmley.
Yeah.
And if that you're wondering, what did he just say? That's an in-joke for Beatles fans. Only Beatles fans will get that. An obscure fucking interview from some Swedish, I think, shindig or something, from the mid-60s, early 60s. May not even have been that. May have been another interview, but he says it's called Paul McCharmley by John Lennon. Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the Wings at this point or just Paul and Linda.
I think it was. Denny Lane was certainly in there, yeah. He was in the video anyway.
So it's Wings.
Yeah.
Paul McCartney and Wings. Wonderful Christmas Time. Stephen, it's not the best song. It's perhaps not even the best Paul McCartney Christmas song. But there's just something about it. Again, a lot of this is wrapped up in nostalgia for me.
Yeah.
I think back to when I was younger, when Christmas really was special, because it loses its special sort of stardust as you get older. It becomes about drinking and eating and becoming a gluttonous fat fuck. And that's fine. It changes to become a slightly different beast. But when you're younger and you're looking for Santa, you're leaving out the sort of milk and the carrots, strangely, and mince pies that your father, who's now a fat, glutinous, greedy fuck, like I am now, eats whilst you're sleeping. It's different Christmas. It's special. It's special, and it's just the music, Steve. Music's always been such a big part of my life. Even as a little kid, it's been a huge part. I can't understand these weird people who don't listen to music. It's always been such a momentous.
It's like someone that doesn't have a TV in their house.
Yeah, it's really fucking weird. It's weird behaviour, and they should really be locked up, sectioned, because it's odd. This song is one of those songs that was part of my childhood growing up in the 90s.
So Kylie Minogue's covered it. She must have had an album out that covered these songs, because her name keeps cropping up, John. But
there's something about the video, Stephen, as well, isn't there? He's
the
in
pub,
that English pub. Yeah. He's dancing around. It's like sort of late 70s Macca. He's still on the weed. He's a very, I don't know, low-key, easy-ozy guy. He's dancing around with that scarf. The shite
Salt of the earth.
Salt of the
One
earth
of
stuff,
people.
as he buys up 5 miles of land round about his huge farm in Wind.
Just to have some peace and quiet.
So, keep away from the people who he's now dancing with in this pub.
But the pub was near his farm, yeah?
Was it? Yeah, so it was probably on his land. He probably owned it. Like Ed Sheeran, funnily enough. That's where the connections between Ed and Paul end. I have to stress.
John, it's a song that hasn't been covered that much, surely. I know there's obviously there's a cover versions link, but
there's been a few, but just shite ones.
Not that I can. The Monkees, the Monkees covered that in 2018. That can't
Paul
be right.
McCartney with the New York Children's Chorus. That's Paul McCartney. It's his fucking song. It's not a cover.
He's
just singing his song.
Re-recording it, yeah.
It's brilliant. There's something about the synth. It's just, there's something about it. It's a great Christmas song for me.
I hate this song. I love Paul McCartney, as you know, John. I don't think that's debatable. I love the guy. I do love the guy, and his contributions to music over the last 6 years he's probably the best in terms of his contributions to popular music. But for some reason, I prefer the Pipes of Peace. And that's not technically
Steve,
it is a Christmas song, because it is the video set. It was World War One. It was a Christmas incident between Germany and Britain, where they played football before they started battling again. But just for a moment, they had this moment of sort of. It
was a truce, yeah.
Yeah, a truce. Yeah. And I did like that. But back to this song, John, and the video. I hate the video as well. It's too chirpy for me. And when I was, it's like, I'm having such a great time. No, you're not. You're making fucking money. That's what you're doing it for.
Yeah, but he was having a good time, because he's already rich.
Yeah.
And he's in his 5 million acres of land,
John,
getting drunk.
I just can't imagine Paul McCartney getting into a Glasgow pub. That's and trying to pull those stunts. He'd get his head kicked in.
No, he wouldn't. He'd buy them all a drink.
I don't know.
And they'd be fine.
I don't know. He wouldn't be buying enough. They get greedy, you know what they're like. It's never enough. But when I was younger, I must have been pretty young, because I must have been pretty fucking stupid, because when the song came out and it was called Simply, I thought he was saying Zippy, and I thought it was something to do with Rainbow. And I thought, why is he only homing in and Zippy? Why is George not having a wonderful Christmas time? Why is Bungle not having a wonderful Christmas time? And I was...
Because Bungle's a pedo! That's why I do jazz hands when I say
what is that all about? You know, that I must have been about 3 or 4 at the time, to be fair. You know, and I just thought...
79,
and that's what I used to sing, Zippy's having. And it's just one of the songs. And I think, John...
having a wonderful Christmas time.
Yeah. I'm not getting into that. No. Jeffrey.
There's a reason why. Yeah.
But
Steve, I'm like Jeffrey. I'm like Jeffrey Dahmer tonight with these glasses on.
But anyway, today we're going to move on, John. Oh no, sorry, I'll give you my number 9 first. Rocking Around the Christmas Tree by Brenda Lee. This song is from 1958. Now, this song for me is a personal one, not just because it appeared in Home Alone in one of the best scenes with the cardboard cutout and the party scene, but my mum being a big fan of Brenda Lee, growing up with that music around the house. And this song, I can relate to it. It obviously has emotional ties back to my childhood, And it's a great song. It's a fantastic song. I know it's been covered by Mel Smith and Cam Wilde, which was terrible. It was just a terrible version. And there it is. There we go.
Justin Bieber.
I didn't know that. What's that all about? I just couldn't
Hannah
imagine
Montana. Anyone?
That's Miley, isn't it?
Yes, Miley Cyrus.
But John, I just like it. It's a great song.
Yeah.
It's such a nice upbeat, uplifting song
An
as
oldie
well.
as well, Stephen. All the way back in 1958.
Yeah.
It was out and about. Stephen, I've changed my listing.
He's out and about.
He's out and about. It's not the last time we're going to be mentioning that fuckwit in this video tonight, because there's one omitted, which some may say is sacrilege because it's Christmas, but it gives me vibes of that, man. And I simply can't put it
down, Christmas. That
No,
one?
not that
okay.
one. No, we'll get into it. Listen, I apologise to the band in question because I'm not at all connected to that weasel. But yeah, it's just something about it gives me those vibes. Yeah, Stephen, I've changed my order and about on the fly. I'm now got Rocking Around the Christmas Tree in at number... What have you got at 9?
Yeah, 9, yeah.
I've got it at number 8.
Yeah,
So it's in at number 8 for all the same reasons you mentioned, Stephen.
Continuity there, so we're getting into it anyway.
Yeah, all the same reasons.
Yeah.
Home Alone, Kevin McAllister,
Yeah.
the Sticky Bandits, looking at this house. He
The Wet
recreates
Bandits at
this,
that point,
the Wet
yeah.
Bandits,
Yeah.
at that point. Recreates the party. I think we spoke about it before we came on. Michael Jordan, I think it is, a cutout.
Yeah.
He's got all of these mannequins dancing. That film's a huge part of my childhood again. I just love it. It's got infinite rewatchability. One of the great Christmas movies. And at the heart of it is Rocking Around the Christmas Tree by Brenda Lee. It's such a... Just the content.
The sort of closing last 15 seconds of the song, I picture Kevin at the window waving away the crooks.
It's synonymous with that movie.
It's fantastic. Yeah, it's captured very well.
So
in
it
the
kind
film.
of combines two great Christmas sort of things for me.
traditions. Yeah.
And Steve, I always think that music takes you right back to the time and place when you were first hearing it or embracing and enjoying the song. And for me, that was in the 90s.
Yeah.
Watching the likes of Home Alone. So it takes me back to a nice happy place. So that's in at number 8.
So my number 8, John, is Fairy Tale of New York by the Pogues and Kirsty MacColl from 1988. Now, John, we had a discussion before we came on about the song being a bit overplayed over the years. There's been a few covers. Obviously, Shane MacGowan and the Pogues have
I think it was
sadly had to bring in other female vocalists to cover Kirsty's part of the song, because she tragically died 22 years ago, John. It was December 2000. I always remember the moment I found that out. I was coming home from work with David Munko, and it came on the radio that she'd been killed in a speedboat accident in Mexico, and I was absolutely gobsmacked by it. She was only early 40s at the time, I'm pretty sure. But I don't want obviously want to get into the sort of details of that, John, but the actual song itself is fantastic. It's got that little penny whistle in it, the violins, the way it sort of builds up. It's a very slow start with Shane opening it up. It's almost like a story he's telling. It is a story he's telling, and then it just kicks in with the sort of Celtic vibes. And it's a song that's probably overplayed now everywhere you go, and I know they've had to rehash some of the lyrics as well because of
controversy.
It just obviously doesn't age that well in terms of certain words which we'll not mention. But for me, and Matt Dillon is in the video as a copper. He's arresting Shane MacGowan.
Really?
Matt Dillon, we were looking at a photo of him and John Lennon not that long ago, John. I think it was a couple of weeks.
I couldn't believe those two had crossed paths.
It's so random, isn't it? Outside the Dakota.
For some reason I thought he was a lot younger than that.
Yeah, he must have been pretty young at the time. He was probably about 17, 18 at the time. But John, getting back onto
I've got this in at number 5, Stephen.
Yeah.
This one for me. I'm just going to get... Also, we have got ones that kind of cross over.
Right.
And when I think they do, we'll just mention where we're putting theirs in. And also, it stops us maybe discussing it a little bit too much. Me just repeating and regurgitating the same thing. For me, it's one of the great Christmas songs. It is, but I've got a love-hate relationship with that song. It came on the other day, and we were talking, Stephen. For me, being so busy at this time of the year with my work, I hate Christmas up until it's Christmas, really, up until Christmas Eve. And it came on, I'm like, just get that fuck. Yeah. I'm sick of hearing that. But then it is, when you start getting into the spirit of Christmas, the drink starts flowing. It is a truly great song, man, and the Pogues are brilliant. Kirsty MacColl's vocals, the story they're telling, of dreams being their hopes being dashed, but they've got each other. It's such a relatable
John, the
story as well.
the reworking of the wording, the alt version from 2020, December 2020, is the line now says, "You're cheap and you're haggard." So I'm not going to say what the original line was in case it offends anyone.
It doesn't work right though.
It doesn't, John, and it's quite jarring when you hear it, because I think just because of the length of time the song has been out as well. And we get, obviously, in this day and age, you can't use certain terminologies, and it can be quite offensive, but it's just a bit jarring the way it's been done. But unfortunately, like any medium that was at a time,
I don't agree with it. Yeah, I don't agree with
it's either don't play it or just or play it, but play it the way it was meant to be.
There was never any offence intended by that song. And just getting back and retconning it by modern standards, it just does. I don't like that stuff. It's part of history. It's in there. If it was, obviously they were intending to offend people and they were going after and attacking people literally. That's different. It wasn't. It was light-hearted.
It does say there, musician Nick Cave accused the BBC of mutilating the song, stating it would be stripped of its value. I get that, because it is, you're messing with art there, in terms of. In terms of historic,
it should stay as it is.
It's ingrained in your brain as well, the actual lyrics. And when you do hear the sort of reworked lyrics, you're like, that doesn't sound right. It just doesn't sound exact. I don't know how they managed it. I don't know if it was an outtake.
I think it was like us in the early days of doing audio shows. They just cut it in.
Yeah, but who sang that? Was it Kirsty MacColl? I don't know.
I don't think so, Stephen. No.
But Kirsty MacColl was a great singer, John.
She was, yeah,
and a great writer. In fact, one of my favourite songs from the 1980s she wrote. I think she was only 16. They Don't Know About Us, which Tracy Ullman covered. I think in 1983, and I didn't know Kirsty MacColl wrote that song till recently. I couldn't believe it. I went, that's fantastic. I think she was only 16 when she wrote it.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Stephen, it's an iconic song. It's just that it's the sort of folky Celtic stuff going on in there as well. It's just a lovely mixture, and the way it swells to the end, it's an inspiring song. Fairy Tale of New York. Obviously New York as a city has its own fairy tale story in its own right. This place where young vibrant people with ambitions go to try and make something of themselves, like Sir Bob Dylan did it famously in the past. Loads of other people have grown up in that city, and it's a real inspirational place. So that being the sort of heart and soul of not only the video but the song as well, the premise.
Yeah.
One of the great Christmas songs, but for me it's at 5. You're at 8.
I'm at 8, John, yeah.
What is 7? Shall we go to 7? I have got 1, 2, 3. I'm having to count down. I changed it. Mariah Carey. All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Yeah.
I've ditched The Darkness. That's an honourable mention now. Christmas Time, Don't Let the Bells End. Love that song as well. Just great. Just the video was brilliant. You get the sleigh bells in there. It's a brilliant song. But for me, Mariah Carey, just because of what you mentioned, it's one of the last iconic Christmas songs to be crafted. 1990s. I can't mention the likes of Wonderful Christmas Time, the rationale behind it, the nostalgia, my childhood, and not the input Mariah Carey's. Yeah. Simply have no. All I Want for Christmas Is You. That has to go in there. Yeah, that was part of me growing up as a kid. Christmas was, in a sense, framed by that.
I know it's been reworked recently in terms of the video as well, to sort of bring it more up to date, and obviously
I heard the version today
with Mariah's age as well. But
with score,
I think it probably was. It's probably that version, John. Yeah,
strings
from a couple of years ago. But I think I've always had an appreciation for her voice. She's got a fantastic range. I don't know if she's still got it now, but certainly in the 1990s, she was probably the greatest singer on the planet, I would say, in terms of range for that time. And that song, as you mentioned, John, in the iconic video, she's wearing the sort of Santa snowsuit, jumping about in the snow with Santa and just having a great time. I think maybe some dogs in there as well she's rolling about in the snow with. Just a great video, and it's shot in a sort of found footage way, that sort of cheap, nasty camcorder way, deliberately, obviously, because it's supposed to be like a Christmas video memory. But it's a great song, and it's a great addition to the list as well.
It is, yes, Steve. It's a great song. It's one of the iconic Christmas songs. I'm not putting it at number 1, but it has to be in there. There's just something about the start and the bells start coming in, the piano. It's uproarious. It's happy.
Yeah.
It's full of festive glee. Has to be in there.
John, my number 7 is Blue Christmas by Elvis Presley from 1957. Now, this song, very much like Brenda Lee, sort of something I grew up with my mum being a big Elvis fan, certainly with his ballads and stuff like that, and she also had a Christmas album that this featured on. Now, we were talking just before we came on, there was a reworked video from a few years ago, maybe 10 years ago, with Martine, can't remember her name. Yeah, I can't remember her name now.
Maybe.
I don't know. But obviously it was the footage from the 1968 comeback special, John. That's the one where he's in the leathers.
Yeah.
He looks fantastic, he's tanned, he's slim, and his
Martina
voice is...
McBride.
Martina McBride. Yeah, this video, John, confused the hell out of me when I saw it about 10 years ago. I thought... I grew up with this video when it was Elvis Presley. I knew he didn't do duets. They did this duet album with all these various modern singers, but I didn't know who she was. I saw the video, just staring into space one day, saw the video coming on, and I was convinced, is this the Mandela effect? If I erased this woman from my memory in this video, because I don't remember her being in this video, it's superimposed. That's what I'm trying to say. For obviously the re-release of the song. It was fantastic, John. It was really well done, and just the interactions was so organic and natural. But just going back to the original one, John, his voice is probably at peak here. The 1968 live version, that is, I'm talking about. The original from 1957 is fantastic, and it has those wee the ooh. They don't do that in the live one, obviously, but the live one's good, I think, for the guitar. Yeah, it's fantastic, John. And those first few notes of that live version as well, John, the crowd are just up for it as well.
Stephen, that whole return thing is incredible.
Yeah.
The guy's tanned, he's in the leather. The band are just looking magnificent. The setup, they're in this sort of circle. They're changing the guitars about. He's taking... I always forget his guitarist's name. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Terrible. They're all fucking amazing.
It might say it there, John. It might actually say it in that.
Well, I mean, I'm sure if I click on Elvis Presley, it'll probably tell me what the guitar player's name was, potentially. But, yeah, I mean, I always forget his name. It really does wind me up. But needless to say, Stephen, it's Scotty Moore. How the fuck do you face
Bill Black was a double bass guy. Yeah.
It's just fucking great, Stephen. I've got it in at number 6, one down the list. Blue Christmas. There's just something about Elvis. The guy's an absolute icon of music, an icon of his generation, and multiple generations.
And the words of the Proclaimers, John. Sure, I seen the best one came from Tupelo, Mississippi.
Yeah.
That's Elvis.
And he is, Stephen, there's a strong argument even to this day that he is perhaps the greatest sort of music figure to ever come out. Pop sort of music figure, maybe even rock. There's just something about that Christmas song. It's brilliant. Blue Christmas as well. Obviously, it's got more maybe connotations in there. But this is a guy who always maybe dabbled with slight melancholic stuff going on. And I always look at that. I mean, you think of that other Christmas song that sounds like fucking Elvis.
Mud. Loneliest Christmas.
Christmas.
John, for years I did think that was Elvis. Yeah.
I always connect those two. They're kind of somber. But it's it's a great song. I mean, I'm just surprised they didn't do more.
I love the 57 version for those sort of little backing singers as well. They're just, I'm not saying they're little people, I'm just saying those little voices. Just
what they did,
perfect, yeah, it was fantastic. It just added another layer to a great song.
I went into Tesco the other day and it came on, and I was immensely happy. It made
you start
my day.
Singing to it, you really do, and you whistle it and stuff like that. It sticks in your head all day.
That's Elvis. That's the power of Elvis.
That's Elvis.
That is Elvis. He's the man. It was the man, and he remains the man. Number 6 for me, Stephen. What have you got at number 6?
I've got Sleigh Ride, the Ronettes from 1963. Now this, it's probably an attachment to the actual Phil Spector album, John, as a whole.
Yeah.
Which is a fantastic album if you've ever listened to it. We've actually got it in the car, and when we're going out for Christmas dinner, it's the CD it goes on, and we're all singing along in the car like the Griswolds. John, I just love it. It's a great song. I love the Ronettes. I love their voices. I love obviously the wall of sound that Phil Spector gives it. Not going to talk about the guy apart from obviously his production work, which is borderline genius for me. I love it, and it's from obviously the album A Christmas Gift for You. Yeah, I think it's fantastic, John. It's probably appeared in many films as well, I'm pretty sure.
I'm talking about Phil Spector's production. This song's fucking great. It really is. It's a brilliant song. If it's the same one I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
It's the... Yeah, I mean, it's one of those classic ones, Steve. And again, these are all oldies.
Yeah.
All these songs, I mean, Blue Christmas is fucking 1964, 65, 57.
57, yeah.
Loads of different sort of various ones. They're all old releases. They're like 50, 60 years ago. This is 1948. This was
The
published.
most modern one I've got so far, John's from 1988.
1988. That probably tells
Yeah.
you a story, though, Steve.
It does, yeah.
All the great
I
sort
think
of
Christmas
Western anyway.
values have certainly changed over the last few decades, John.
They
In terms
have,
of
yeah.
The commercialisation of Christmas.
But it's funny,
You
Steve,
know.
when I think of Christmas, I do think of like the 1950s and 40s and 60s. That
Yeah.
kind of takes you back to a bygone era.
Yeah.
But you do kind of, it's family values. You're with... Yeah, it's just, it's sort of different. It's not... I know it's all wrapped in commercialisation and sort of capitalism now, but for me, obviously being older, I buy what I want when I want, so I don't really have to
Well, that's it, yeah.
worry about the present side. It's just about having a good time, having lots of drink and eating and being merry with your fucking
And watching
family.
a good film, John.
Yeah,
with your
watching
family.
a good film, yeah.
The Great Escape or something like that.
And that's The Great Escape.
Some
Steve,
classic
it's
film,
something
yeah.
that's been on a million times
Yeah.
before, but it comes on and you're hooked to it.
E.T.
E.T. That's what Christmas is all about for me, and these songs just seem to capture that vibe perfectly. The likes of Sleigh Ride, Blue Christmas, fucking all these old songs.
What is your number 6, John?
And number 6 was Blue Christmas.
Blue
Elvis.
Christmas, yeah.
And obviously 5, I've got Fairy Tale of New York, The Pogues, so we
Yeah.
just go straight down to 5.
Well, number 5 for me is I Believe in Father Christmas by Greg Lake. In 1975, John, another oldie, if you like. Well, I can say that. It was a year before I was born, so it was ancient. I think it was recorded in 1974, but it wasn't released till November 75, John.
Yeah.
Greg Lake, obviously from Emerson, Lake and Palmer fame,
Mm-hmm.
although he was famous anyway, but sadly passed away a couple of years ago at Christmas time, sadly, very much like George Michael.
Yeah, that was bizarre, yeah.
It's something about his voice I like.
There's a lot of Steve Bing, I think not Bing, there was one of them passed away as well. There was another one synonymous with Christmas.
With Christmas, yeah.
May have been Bing Crosby, died in Christmas Day.
Wow.
They all seem to do that.
Yeah, it's something
great
very
hits.
ironic about that, John.
Yeah.
But there's something about this song. There's a very cynical undertone to it in the lyrics. If you actually look at the lyrics, you'll see that he's having a pop at the commercialisation of Christmas.
Yeah.
And I love the video as well because it kind of opens up with a great shot of Greg Lake.
No, talking shite, he died on 14th October. Someone did though.
It's a great shot of Greg Lake, a close-up of his face, and you can just see the background faintly, and it looks like it's snow, but as it zooms out, it's actually sand. And that is if you're a Christian, that is your belief where obviously the origins of Christmas comes from.
Yeah.
It's not a snowy place with Santa, it's a sandy place that's very warm called Bethlehem. But John, if that's your thing, but it's a great song. I love the acoustic in the song. I think it's a fantastic acoustic intro. It was a fantastic guitarist. You've got to remember that as well as a great singer. What's your thoughts on this, John? I know you've not really.
Well, first of all, it was Dean Martin that died on Christmas Day. Just bringing the mood down.
Yeah, but what's your thoughts on I Believe in Father Christmas?
Do you
Greg
know,
Lake?
my thoughts are probably late 1990s was the first time I heard that.
Yeah.
It was one of those sort of MTV Christmas mix videos.
Recorded in Abbey Road Studios,
Yeah,
folks.
Stephen, there's a great documentary coming out.
Yeah,
Macca and Ringo.
McCartney, yeah.
Well, we're together for the
It's
sort of
on
premiere.
Disney Plus.
Yeah, I need to watch it. I'm sure it'll cover stuff like this, all the great artists, all the great songs that were recorded in that just iconic studio. Yeah, probably 98, 99 or something like that. On one of those mixes, it came on. It's a great video. His guitar playing, if I'm thinking the same song here,
Yeah.
the arpeggiated guitars.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And it's a brilliant song. Stephen, again, you're talking about not realising how many great songs are out there from this period that you perhaps like, even ones you maybe don't like, but you can still admit they're great songs. I mean, I certainly like this song. It's not my top 10 personally, but there's something about it, man. It's different, as you say. It is taking pop shots at the sort of commercialisation. It's a different vibe. Yeah, a great fucking song. I don't know a huge amount about Greg Lake or Emerson, Lake and Palmer, you say it was. It's one of those bands.
They're
like a super group.
Yeah.
And there's another one, sort of country one, that springs to mind that I can't funnily enough, spring to my mind just now, but that'll be
Crosby,
the drink.
Stills and Nash, yeah.
They're huge
And
super
Young.
groups,
Yeah.
but I don't know of them.
Yeah.
I don't know their songs. So yeah, I've always been kind of
Travelling
intrigued by that.
Wilburys.
I know of
Yeah.
the Travelling Wilburys,
Yeah.
but I've been intrigued by Greg Lake and sort of his career. I need to get down the rabbit hole with this man, but certainly it's a great Christmas song. Obviously factually incorrect though. He's wrong to believe in it, but yeah, again, it's about the notion of
Yeah.
Christmas.
Number 4,
Father
John.
Christmas. Number 4, I need to count down the list. Merry Christmas, everybody. Slade for me.
It's Christmas.
There's just something about Slade. I love the lead singer of Slade.
Yeah, Noddy, yeah.
He's fucking brilliant. He's got a great voice. I think of Every Day, I think was the other one. The other song I like of them. Every day and every way I'm dreaming of
I
you.
like Come On, Feel the Noise. That was a good tune as
Yeah,
well.
they've got some brilliant songs.
John,
It's the guitar, Stephen. It's
yeah.
the song. It's rocky. It's fucking got a punch to it. It's just an iconic Christmas song. Again, the video's in there. It's this sort of glam rock shit going on, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Very of its time, very dated. 1973, I wasn't even a fucking twinkle in my grandmother's eyes probably at this point. I was, but yeah, I wasn't. That'd be weird. It's a great song, Stephen. It's what can you say about fucking Slade? What can you say about Merry Christmas, everybody?
Noddy Holder, John, was one of John Lennon's favourite vocalists of that period.
Yeah.
Which says a lot. I think Slade are from Birmingham.
He's got that
they're from the
gravel that
Midlands
John
anyway.
had.
Yeah, he definitely got a rocker's voice, John.
Yeah.
And it's such an iconic song. I've not included it in my list at all, so we'll not be talking about it again after this.
It's
But,
the guitars though,
but
Stephen.
there is something. The musicianship from Slade is fantastic, John. I remember Runaway from the late 80s, which was a great song. Wall of Sound from the early 90s as well.
They're a fucking, they are a low-key great band,
Yeah.
to be fair. They've
Yeah.
got some brilliant songs. I like that glam rock era. I like the likes of Sweet and bands like that. You shouldn't like them. There's some that they're just corny. They shouldn't be liked, but you simply cannot listen to their songs and not like them. I'm not putting Slade in the same sort of breath as Sweet because I think they're a little bit different.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's just something about the vocals. So here it is, Merry
You hear it every Christmas
Christmas
party, yeah.
You cannot get into Christmas if you're listening to that song.
Yeah, I mean,
even the Grinch would listen to that.
We went
and enjoy
from I Believe in Father Christmas, which was very much the opposite direction from this song. This is a very upbeat and optimistic song, and getting everybody, up in the dance floor as well. John, you hear it at Christmas parties all the time, office parties at Christmas time, and obviously around the pubs and the clubs. It's just one of those songs that everyone can just join in with. It's a crowd pleaser, and everyone sings it together. And
it's
everyone
that era
gets
as
together.
well, Stephen, isn't it? The rock back then in the 70s and the 60s, it was sort of transitioning away from sort of stuff the Beatles and the Stones to an extent. They were transitioning as a band as well, post Brian Jones. It was a new era of music, and the concept of this being a sort of Christmas song, I didn't actually realise it came out the same year as Wizards. I Wish It Could Be Christmas Every Day.
Yeah,
It beat that to
there
number
is
one.
similarities between those songs.
Yeah, I
Not
always
in
get them
terms of
mixed up,
sound,
yeah.
but it just the message is very similar as well. It's a very
And it'd be a
positive message about Christmas.
That would be a good time to maybe broach the elephant in the room as to why Wizard ain't going to be in my top 10 list. There's just something about that song, the vibe from the video, I don't know. It just gives me strange feelings
creepiness.
of Jimmy Savile and
John,
Rolf Harris and people like that. And I was going to say another name, but I don't think he
Ron
convicted.
Roy Wood, sorry, not Ron Wood. Roy Wood was the singer of Wizard. He was originally in ELO and a good friend of Jeff Lynne, and left ELO just before they hit the big time. But when it became, now this is something it's a mark of the man when it comes to Jeff Lynne. When it came to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame a few years ago, that Danny Harrison inducted them in. They had Roy Wood invited onto it as well because he was one of the founding members, and he wanted obviously for that moment, which was very good of Jeff Lynne to do because a lot of time had passed between those two actually being in a band together, and it's only right as well that that the founding members are included, the surviving members as well. But it is that one of those songs, John, very much like obviously Slade's Merry Christmas Everyone. It's got that kind of same message and vibe and stuff like that, but I don't like the video. I just hate the video for it. It's weird. It's just top of the pops 1970s to me, and I don't like that.
Something springs to mind, guy with dark hair. I'm not sure who it is. I'm not hugely familiar with Slade, the band, the actual individuals. I know Noddy. Yeah. Sort of red jumpsuit, leotard.
Okay.
Think so.
That was probably everyone in the 1970s on top of pops.
Yeah, that's what I think of right away.
Yeah,
I think I know. I think he had like a sort of strange,
Yeah.
Had that crazy curly hair, didn't he?
Yeah, and he always wore one of those sort of Mad Hatters hats
Yeah.
as well, with the sort of reflective
There's just
mirrors.
something about that era, Stephen. I
Yeah.
love it. I'm a huge fan, as you know, of Lemmy. You're a huge fan of Lemmy.
Yeah.
He's been going down a rabbit hole.
I need to
Most
watch
of the
some of
80s,
that,
to be fair, but the
Yeah.
likes of 3-2-1 with Ted Rogers. And there's just something about that era. It's slightly fucked up in a lot of ways, but there's stuff like this. You can catch some gems in them, and just the sort of
John,
absolute crap.
from 1980, my number 4 is Jonah Louis' Stop the Cavalry. Now,
Yeah.
this song is very much similar to the I Believe in Father Christmas, the sort of downplayed events of Christmas. I think the song is sort of set during World War II, because I think it mentioned of Churchill in there at one point. He just wants to stop. Basically, let's stop the war. Can I go home? I want to go home to my family for Christmas. It's a great song, John.
Yeah.
It's got a very much a Salvation Army sort of music to it as well, with the trumpets, etc., and tubas and whatever other wind instruments are in there. And it's so catchy, John. It's one of those ones, and it's this is a thing from a personal level. That's a song we've got on in our house when it's present opening time. For some reason, it's always on. I don't know what that's all about, but it was actually my daughter that said, that's the song that always comes on when we open our presents. And I went, really? All right, okay. I didn't know that. So that's became a bit of a tradition.
It's
a
that
bit
little
weird,
beat,
but
isn't it? That little
yeah.
sort of batting thing
Yeah,
going on in it. No, I'm talking about the
Yeah, I love that. It's a great, it's got some layers to it, John, but I like it.
Yeah, Steve, it is. Look, sadly, I can't get everyone in. It's only a 10 list, but
Yeah.
this is another one that's an honourable mention for me. It's just an iconic video, much like Pikes a Peace. Brilliant fucking
Yeah.
anti-war video. Just really
Yeah,
high
same, yeah.
calibre set production in the trenches. It is comedic. It has got that sort of vibe, as you mentioned, of sort of classics. I wouldn't say a sitcom, but those sort of stuff from back in the day. And again, it's really well sung. It's a classic Christmas song. Stephen,
Yeah.
what that really stands out for me doing this list just now is the various different genres we're touching upon. You've got the crooners, you've got the sort of McCartney 70s fucking weeded out his nut, high as a kite stuff, in a pub in the middle of England, the south of England.
Weeded out, he's not.
You've got sort of Mariah Carey with her larger than life persona. And then
What's the
you've got
matter,
sort of
John Love? Blue Meanies.
Blue Meanies. Blue Meanies are in the vicinity of this theatre. What shall we do? Sing. There's only one thing for it. Sing. Sing. Just different vibes. We're getting the anti-war stuff. We've got the anti-commercialisation stuff. We've got the sort of rocky glam stuff going on in there. It should be an era or a time in the year that's sort of universal. The vibes. But you see it, the darkness. There's lots of different things going on. You can really celebrate this time of the year musically in a whole array of different genres in music. It's weird.
I was just actually reading that there, John, about it. Obviously, it's been an anti-war song, and the song peaked at number 3 on the UK singles chart in December 1980. At one point, being kept from number 1 by 2 reissued songs by John Lennon, who had been murdered on the 8th of December that year. I think Ant Music was kept out as well. Adam and the Ants was kept off the number 1 perch as well. Obviously, I think John had 3 songs in the top 5, obviously after he was murdered, sadly, but it shows the power of obviously John Lennon and that music at the time. I think Imagine was one, Just Like Starting Over, and Happy Christmas War Is Over, I'm pretty sure was the other one. I may be wrong, maybe I've been Women, I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I was about to say, speaking of that, I'm about to mention that, but I'm not, because my next one's not that.
Number 3.
Number 3, White Christmas, Bing Crosby.
Yeah, classic,
Not a lot to say about that, Stephen, really. We can keep that short and sweet. It's White Christmas.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the most covered Christmas songs out there. I've literally been to see Andre Rieu, violinist, a maestro from Holland, from the Netherlands, I should say. Maastricht, it's a region, Holland, in the Netherlands. And he's not from Holland. And he covers it. When he came at Christmas, the bastard comes in spring now, so yeah, that's gone. He used to cover it, full Johann Strauss orchestra. There's just something special about it. All the versions, the Bublé version, not so much the Glee cast version or the Meghan Trainor version.
Gwen Stefani,
I didn't know she did it.
No, I did that.
But Bing's one of those all-time sort of Christmas voices. He's all of the big old-time male-dominated Christmas songs.
It's from
Is it
from the film The Holiday Inn, or Holiday Inn?
Is it? I don't know.
People assume it's from the film White Christmas. I'm sure there's a bit of trivia about this, and it's actually from a film called Holy. I could be wrong, but I'm something's telling me that. There's a bit of pub trivia there. But John, you're absolutely right. It's a song that everyone knows. Doesn't matter what age group you're from, whether you're just in your sort of early teens, right through your probably
90s.
your
Yeah, you're
90s.
right.
I was going to say it would,
you're right.
it would be right now for the sort of time it came out in the 40s or whatever it was. I don't know when it came out.
Yeah.
But John, it's just one of the songs
Bill
everyone
Clinton can enjoy it.
Everyone knows, and
A
everyone
newborn can enjoy it.
everyone identifies that song with Bing Crosby as well.
Yeah.
When you think of Bing Crosby, it's White Christmas. That's the first song you think of, and it's just
this sort of, it's almost like a glockenspiel.
yep.
Down, 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 is that the one you know? It's
Yeah,
fucking great, isn't it?
that is.
Where the tree
He's got such a deep voice as well.
Yeah, I can't do it. It's just, it's an iconic song, Stephen. It's fucking, that is Christmas for me.
Yeah, John. Number
those
3
kind
for
of
me
stuff.
is Christmas Rapping by
Yes.
the Waitresses from 1982.
Totally different vibe.
Yeah,
That's
John.
what I'm talking about,
That's his
Stephen.
new wave we're getting into now.
You're talking about genres in music covering. You've got Bing Crosby, the sort of fucking
Yeah.
very beating heart of Christmas, singing about dreaming of a white Christmas,
Yeah.
and then you have this one where they're not
Yeah.
want to celebrate Christmas.
This was written and produced
initially.
by Chris Butler, and the vocals were by Patty Donahue, John, who sadly passed away a few years ago. The Waitresses, for me, as I said, were a new wave band from the US, and sort of captured that vibe from early 1980s. The first time I heard this song was actually the Christmas episode of Only Fools and Horses. It was in the background. I went, I like that song. I know that song from somewhere, and it was that song. It has that cynical view of Christmas and the commercialisation of Christmas. This character can't be bothered this year, wants to put it on hold, goes out, kind of plays along, getting the sort of and try to get into the Christmas sort of tradition of getting the turkey, forgets the cranberry sauce, goes out, bumps into the guy that she's been chasing all year. That's in the lyrics. And they have a good time, and maybe it's just going to be a good Christmas after all.
Yeah.
It's got a great story to it, John. I love the lyrics.
That should be my number one, because that's basically me every year.
It's a great story, and it's one of those ones where you listen to the lyrics because it's storytelling.
Yeah, Stephen, it was on Radio 1
Yeah,
the
it's
other
fantastic,
day, and it
John.
really is.
And you mentioned it as well. It's got a good build up to it. It starts off and it just keeps building, and the instruments coming in, the guitar coming in, the bass.
It's the bass and just
fantastic.
there's
The
something
drumming
about
as
the
well.
It's
a fantastic song.
It's just that little sort of what I'm about to put
Christmas
my foot
comes
out
this time one year.
I'm thinking about the brass section. I don't know how that's not my top 10. Again, I knew you'd put it in yours, so I wanted to cover as many as possible, so it didn't make my top 10 for some strange reason, despite it being one of my favourite Christmas songs. This is kind of supposed to be the point of this whole fucking thing. I put Booble in ahead of this. I don't know what the fuck I'm thinking. But yeah, Steve, it's an absolutely brilliant song. You've got that in at number 3?
3, yeah.
3.
Yeah.
I think that's a lovely choice.
John, our number 2s are the same.
The same, yeah, John Lennon.
It's John Lennon, Happy Christmas, War is Over. John Lennon and Yoko Ono with the Plastic Ono Band and the Harlem Community Choir from 1971 now, John. This song, big Lennon fans, big Beatles fans, you didn't actually assume it being at number 1. It's not the best John Lennon song in my book, but it's one of the greatest Christmas songs, and it just happens to come from one of our favourite artists. Now, John, this song was produced, I'm pretty sure, by Phil Spector. It's certainly got a Phil Spector vibe to it. You might want to correct me if I'm wrong here, but
No, it's Phil Spector.
Spector, it has Spector all over it, to be fair. Now, this song, for me, is fantastic. I was actually watching a breakdown of this on YouTube, the actual isolated tracks on it, and I absolutely love what Phil Spector has done on this song with the wall of sound, with his, obviously the string instruments. I think it's a beautiful laid track he's put on it, and it just gives it that sort of Christmas feel. Yoko Ono's singing on it with obviously the choir. She it's as if she's guiding them.
Yeah,
she's actually got a good voice.
She has got a good voice
for this one, and I know a lot of people, it's a bit of a Marmite subject when it comes to Yoko Ono and her singing. Certainly on a
She was never
Facebook
a singer
group. No, she wasn't, John. But
she was an artist.
At the end of the day, I mean, she does.
Avant-garde.
Yeah, she does what she does, and I think that song just happened to be the one that fit her vocal range. But for me, John Lennon's voice in this as well, Obviously, the Happy Christmas War is Over, another anti-war song based on the festive period. John Lennon at this point, 1971, a year after the Beatles had broke, he had a lot of social and political angst in his life at that point. And it's a fantastic song, John. I like the posters that were promoting this with, the white poster with just the simplicity of the Happy Christmas War is Over, if you want it, Merry Christmas from John and Yoko. I would like a t-shirt like that. It's a fantastic song, just love it. It's one of the songs I listen to every year, and for some reason I tune into the orchestral moments in the song as well.
Stephen, I love the start of it.
Yeah,
I think it's Yoko and John speaking to each other. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, it's Merry Christmas Kyoko,
and then
Merry Christmas Julian. Yeah,
or Julian, is it?
Yeah, it's Julian. Yeah,
I love that.
It's their kids at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And then obviously he kicks in with "So This Is Christmas."
Yeah.
It's just brilliant. The guitars, we just listened to it before we come on. Someone had isolated the backing stuff, and the guitars are just incredible. They really are. It's that sort of. It's almost like a Spanish guitar, strangely. It's just layered. It's a fantastic Christmas song. The message there is very important, and that's something we've seen, Stephen, throughout this list. And there's obviously the likes of Band-Aid did it as well, a little bit more heavy-handed. They're a bit subtle as a fucking sledgehammer. We've now got one out this year. Feed the UK. Let them know it's
John,
Christmas
I will mention something. There is some kind of maybe sensitive lyrics within the song that we were talking about earlier with the Pogues' Fairy Tale of New York, which were omitted from newer versions of the song. They've not done this with the John Lennon one. Now, it could be, it might not be as offensive, but obviously when he's talking about colour, the colour of people's skin, and that it could rub some people up the wrong way. Certainly there's a football team, an American football team, that have obviously had to change their names because of something similar. But that doesn't seem to have affected this song, and it's not had another version with rewritten or omitted.
Again, I think what's important is the context of the way words are used, and obviously there's certain words you do not go near, just purely because they're unacceptable and they're abhorrent. They shouldn't be in the English language or any language for that matter. But it's context that's important. This is a guy that's singing in the context of bringing everyone together. We're all the one people. Why are we warring continually and becoming our own little tribes and still being hateful in this day and age? This was 50 years ago, and sadly it's still like that now. I think the message is important. The way that the words are being used to convey whatever story it is he's trying to convey. In this context, it's celebrating Christmas. War is over. We're all together. We're all the one human race. That's important. If you go back and cut it out because it's offensive 50 years later, then you're losing the potency of what he's trying to fucking convey, the message he's trying to convey, which is the complete opposite of what some people who are maybe offended 50 years later are trying to, I don't know, create. Because we've seen this, Stephen, with John. A lot of people want to go back and perhaps attack the man for some of the darker parts of his life. He was a human being. He was a deeply troubled man. He had his demons. He wasn't perfect. He wasn't an angel. And it's one of the few issues I will go after Yoko for. And the sort of time following his death, she did try to create this image of him being this angelic sort of figure who was pure of heart. He wasn't. He was a human being who had his demons. He had real fucking problems in his life. I mean, you can't get back and retcon individuals and songs 50 years later because there's words used out of context in your mind that are offending you. He's painting a fucking positive message. It's one of the greatest Christmas songs ever made.
Definitely is, John.
A great song. Every part of it. The kids as well coming in.
Yeah, it's fantastic, John. Just
educating
a nice
a new
blend.
generation. Also, we know now it didn't work because we're still fucking get worse going on just now, but it's an important message, Stephen. War is over. Stop warring. Get a fucking grip of yourselves.
Make love, not war.
Exactly.
John, number one. What's your number one?
Last Christmas Wham, Stephen. There's just something about this song. Again, the sort of core theme of my list, at least, is nostalgia. As a kid growing up, what Christmas meant to me, what framed my Christmas experience as a kid. Because look, as an adult, it's different now. I'm not going to regurgitate what I said, but it's not the same. It's really, Christmas is sort of just full of nostalgia. What you experienced as a young kid, the magic of it, the presents, everything, just the experiences. And this song was a big part of that. When it came on, that meant Christmas was happening.
That
was Christmas for me, starting last Christmas.
Factoid about Christmas 1984 was that it was kept off the top spot by another song that George Michael that performed on, Do They Know It's Christmas by Band Aid, which is ironic. I didn't know that. I didn't know it was kept off the number one spot.
Yeah, well, it's number one just now in the UK.
Is it?
It doesn't matter because it's not Christmas number one.
Yeah, well, unless it holds its own, but I doubt it, John. But my sister was a big fan of Wham at the time, and just looking at that cover there, she actually had the single, the actual vinyl, and I remember that Andrew Ridgeley looking a bit upset, dressed as Rudolph, and George looking on very smug. But you're absolutely right, and it's got an iconic video to it as well. There's a lot of sort of sexual tension and they're looking across the table with a glass of wine, all that kind of things going on, and it's set, I don't know where it was filmed, but there's a lot of snow around. It looks like they're going skiing.
It looks like the Alps or something.
It's like a skiing holiday, isn't it? But it's just got a nice vibe to it in terms of not one of my favourite songs, I've got to admit, and I wasn't a big fan of Wham, I'm afraid, or George Michael, but
I'm not a huge fan of Wham either, to be fair, but it's just this song.
You've got an appreciation for it, John, and like myself, I appreciate it. It has a nice vibe to it as well.
Stephen, it was
Switzerland, there you are. Yeah, have you been there before? That was spot on. But
just the snow.
I mean, you could see the sort of early signs that George Michael was going to become this mega pop star at some point. Obviously, Andrew Ridgeley not so much. He was a friend of George, obviously, and a support for him during the Wham days. He needed his friend to sort of back him up. A bit like I'm the Andrew Ridgeley of the movie burners, and John's the George Michael.
Absolutely.
I'll just fade into obscurity, but as long as he's happy, that's the main thing. But John, it puts me in mind of Sterling Petrov for some reason. Andrew Ridgeley, but
obviously George puts us in mind of Felipe Jota.
John, obviously, sadly, George Michael passed away on Christmas Day a few years ago, which was an absolute shocker. I think it was that year, the year of famous people dying. 2016 was it?
Bowie died. Alan Rickman died.
Carrie Fisher. It was some big names.
Fucking bad year that when I think about it. My two grandparents passed away. Grandfathers passed away in the space of a month. But we had last Christmas at the end of it, so it's all right. And Stephen, look, ultimately that's I always think of Oasis, Live Forever. And the core message in that, at least what I take from it, is you live forever in what you do in life, the memories you create, the impact, the influence you leave on individuals, on the world itself. And that's why I've always felt music's so important, because as I said earlier, it takes you back to a time in your life when you first heard it.
That's right,
It leaves a real impression on you. And this man will live forever through this song, and obviously his other body of work, the likes of John Lennon, who we spoke about previously. They will live forever because of the work that they have left, the influence they have left, generational influence. And for me, that is what Christmas is all about. It's a generational thing. You pass it down to kids, you pass it down to their kids.
Just read that as well, John, that Wham had donated all the royalties from this song to relief efforts for the Ethiopian famine. Obviously, what Do They Know It's Christmas was obviously the sort of forefront to that. But John, it's again, it's got the nostalgia to it as well. It reminds me of myself and my sister, obviously sharing a lot of Christmas mornings together. Obviously before my younger brother was on the scene, but obviously she was a big fan of Wham. I couldn't see the appeal, obviously being a young fella, but I think just as you get older you do appreciate certain songs,
It's the music as well, Stephen.
I think so. It's that synth. It's got a nice beat to it as well, it's got a nice rhythm to it and a nice pacing to it. But John, it is a great song. I can understand why it's your number one. My number one is 2000. Also,
he's a football fan. It's been taken to the hearts of my team.
My number one is 2000 Miles by the Pretenders from 1983. It's a great song. I love the guitar work in it. Chrissy Hynde's voice from the Pretenders, obviously, this song. I like a lot of their songs anyway. They're a great band. This song for me was fantastic. Funnily enough, I was 7 when this came out, so I wasn't really aware of it on its initial release. It wasn't till Chrissy Hynde did a live version of this, I think perhaps maybe MTV in 1995, and that's what captured my attention, was the live version of it, which was fantastic. I was just amazed by the guitar work for an acoustic set, and since then it's just been a sort of staple diet. Every year this is one of my songs that I'll listen to on Spotify on Christmas Day and the build up to Christmas as well. It's just a great song. I just love her voice. I like the video as well. The video's actually pretty good. I think she's dressed up as a Salvation Army sort of lady in the video, but she's always had a great voice.
I don't know if I've heard this song.
It's a fantastic song. Yeah,
awesome.
There you go. She's dressed up, I think all the members are dressed up as Salvation Army in a snowy location. But it's a great song, John. And there we go, a version of the song with 1995 with violins and other stringed instruments. That was the version I obviously heard.
Yeah.
It's fantastic, John. I like both versions, to be fair.
I don't know if I've heard it. I'd need to listen to it. I imagine I have. I think I've heard just about every Christmas song going, including the shite ones. So, yeah, I'd imagine I have. Stephen, without knowing for sure, I'm just going to have to rely on your opinion. You've got a good opinion when it comes to music.
In terms of covers, I'm pretty sure Katie Tunstall covered it. I'm pretty sure she did, John. I don't know if maybe there's a mention of that in the covers. Perhaps not. I don't know. But I think Chris Martin might have covered it as well from Coldplay.
Chris Martin.
Yeah. What's he doing here in a factory in Wigan? It's mental. There you go. Covers.
Yeah, Coldplay. Yeah. I'd actually have to search up Katie Tunstall. I actually forgot about her completely. I'm going to do that very briefly before we bugger off.
She did.
Yeah. There you go.
I knew she did. I couldn't remember when it was though. So it was the 2000s.
She was definitely a product of the 2000s. That's for sure. Steve, that's going to round it up. That's your top 10. I'm not going to go through them again, but needless to say, Last Christmas is my one, and 2,000 Miles is your number one. What's your top 10 Christmas songs of all time? What's your number one? Perhaps share your thoughts down below in the comment section. Give rationale if you feel compelled to. We'll read it as well. I don't know what Stephen's going to be, and he's going to Miller and Carter. Okay, so
I'm having some eggnog just now, guys.
Eggnog. I'm having some Coke Zero. Not very festive at all. And that's because this is pre-recorded.
Yeah.
It's not yet Christmas, but it will be when this goes out. Spoiler alert. That's why we've not got a Santa hat on. If it was Christmas, I'd definitely have that on. I assure you. You
could dye your beard, John, white.
I could dye it white, yes. Yeah, I don't look fucking... Stephen, it's getting white anyway. Let's be honest. You can't see it here, but believe me, that's because I keep popping the fucking white hairs out. I will be like Wayne Rooney. I won't be like Wayne Rooney because I'm better looking than Wayne Rooney, and I'm not as fat as Wayne Rooney, but his beard... This man's about 3-4 years older than me, and he looks about 20 years older than me because of a beard. That will be me in a couple of years. I look like fucking Noddy from Slade. He had a beard, didn't he? And it was kind of heavy sideburns going on. That'll be me.
Sideboards.
Or Wizard. I don't know which one it was. Again, I've got them mixed up. Share your thoughts on your top 10 Christmas songs down below in the comment section. Why they are your favourites. Yeah, anything you feel compelled to share can go down below. I don't know what that was. Down below in the comment section. Been mucking around with that AI thing way too much. It can't do hands. That's what it's like. It does things like that. Weird. Anything you feel compelled to share can go down below. Down below in the comment section. Down there. That's what I meant to say. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to get notifications straight to your eyeballs. Regardless of what you do though, all that's left to say is have a very Merry Christmas, everybody. I'll not say a Happy New Year because I'm sure we'll be back before then. And until the next time, me and Stephen are done. Bye bye.